2016 and also 2017, various rating agencies rated us as best run, most efficient cities in the state of Alabama and in the top United States. We're very proud of that, but I think when you hear the initiative that we're talking about today, you'll see what that really means. I would like to invite Tom Pierce and Charlotte Prestridge if they would come forward, because they're part and parcel of what we're going to be talking about first this morning. This really does fit into the environmentally friendly arena because one of the major components of our cost are our energy costs, not only power but water and gas. And so we started a couple of years ago looking at ways that we could in fact reduce our cost through energy conservation and less consumption. We've obviously been working with Alabama Power, and they're very supportive of us doing LED lightings and some of those other things. But there was also another company out there that we were able to find, Synergistics out of Dallas, I think is their headquarters, and they came to us with a unique concept. Most of the people that came to us and said, hey, you know, buy all this new equipment, all this energy efficient equipment, and oh, by the way, you pay for it with your energy savings. Synergistics, thank you very much. Synergistics had a different approach, and it really was how to be relying upon your procedures and your policies and your conscience to cut energy use off by everyone taking a personal responsibility. And we agreed to go into this because a couple of other areas had in fact had some success with this. Little did I know how successful that we would in fact be. Tom Pierce inherited this program from, we all know his predecessor, but Tom really has put his shoulder to the wheel, and working with Charlotte has moved us to the next echelon, and we are saving tons of dollars. Let me just give you this for instance. $1.3 million has been saved in the 2 years that we've been on this program. Almost a 17% decrease in utility bills. $750,000 in 2017 alone was saved. So with that, Tom, as a background, why don't you talk a bit about how we've done it, what Synergistics has done, and then Charlotte, who is very shy, we've practiced a question that I'm going to ask her, and we'll have that opportunity, and make sure your cameras are rolling when that comes, because she will be a great spokesman for Synergistics. Tom?
Thank you, Mayor. Although you stole some of my data figures I was going to use, that's okay.
They'll get it better.
And it's strictly coincidental that I have on a green tie today. That was not planned for the Energy Day. Since partnering with Synergistics back in March of 2016, like the mayor said, we've saved the city $1.3 million in utilities, gas, water, and power. And a large part of that is Synergistic in Charlotte and her efforts. Another big part of it is employees buying in, picking up on the things that Charlotte is teaching them with behavioral modifications, cutting lights off, computer monitors off, and things like that. What a lot of people don't see is the things she does on the back end, a lot of programming with HVAC and boilers and chillers and things like that. She does a lot of monitoring of those utilities, spotting water leaks, spikes in a water bill and things such as that. So it's because of her and her training and knowledge that we're able to accomplish the savings we had, along with the city employees, which is beneficial to not only the city but the taxpayers as well. 3 of our buildings, City Hall Annex, and personnel Fire Station Headquarters received the Energy Star Certification Award. What that means is those 3 buildings perform in the top 25% of other buildings similar in their size. They also operate at 35% less than other buildings comparable in size. So those are some good kudos for us as the city, and we're working to get a few more buildings certified as well.
Not only are we working to get certain buildings, we've offered Shakespeare, which we do not own, which utility cost is a large portion of that one. One of the major buildings that we've been able to reduce our energy consumption on is our multiplex. We had great success in our libraries, even our fire stations, and her husband's one of our firefighters. They were, of all the organizations, bought into this the best. Okay, Charlotte, this is your time to be on TV. All right, what is the most valuable thing you have taught me, during this last 2 years?
I think the most important thing is that the education part of it and why it's valuable to do this for the city. And people can also take that home and do that in their own homes and save money there too.
What she really says is she taught me how to shut my lights off when I leave at night, because from the standpoint of that, it does carry over to our home. And I'd love to be able to tell you I have a 17% reduction in our energy costs. Let me put this in perspective. And Charles Jenwright, the president of City Council, he has to vote on a budget. But when we can show that from a greenhouse effect reduction, that's equivalent of having 868 cars not being driven in any 1 year period of time, and it's the equivalent of planting almost 107,000 tree seedlings that would grow for 10 years. And so that's a very meaningful thing, but the most important thing is we're demonstrating that we do care about the dollars that we collect in taxation, and we try to spend those very wisely. And this is just but another example of how we are energy efficient, Energy Star certification, and it's due in great part to what Charlotte does, which is be our conscience, going around to remind us of turning our computers off and turning our lights off and having our temperature at about 72 degrees or 68 degrees in those periods of time. So, Charlotte, thank you for that, and Tom, thank you for what you've done. Good job. Well, now that we have Chris Conway in the building, we can do our next one. Yeah, thank you very much. A company called Rubicon that until about 3 months ago, I really didn't know anything about. But Chris and the sanitation organization came to us to suggest there would be a pilot program that we could buy into with Rubicon. And while I could explain it, Chris Conway will do a better job of explaining it. And if he would come, and also the senior manager for public policy, Connor Riffle, is with from Rubicon. So if you'll come up, Connor, Chris is going to give you the high level, and you can fill in some of the blanks that he omits.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. So what we approached the mayor about was partnering with a group called Rubicon, who had a technology that would allow us to basically turn our sanitation fleet into almost a roaming data center. It allowed us to collect route diagnostics, real-time reports on what was being collected on our routes, as well as just didn't even really plan to have this demonstration. Our sanitation drivers were riding around with a clipboard trying to fill out every house that had put out their garbage can, try to fill out every house that had a pile of trash, debris, bulk pile, those sorts of things. And what Rubicon allowed our driver to have is a smart device in their vehicle that could collect this information in real time and allow them to transmit that back to our customer service center. In addition to that, we also saw the potential that we could partner with our fleet management group, and we could insert a pod into the sanitation vehicle that would give us certain diagnostics in terms of error codes or things that might point towards poor driving techniques or even problems with the engine before we even check the dipstick and those sorts of things. So it just seemed like something that, as we try to become a smart city and smart city initiatives take hold in Montgomery, this was just the next logical step to try and take that hold. And I don't want to say that I came up with the idea, but I did talk with Connor and Rubicon about, how far can this technology go? Because I would be more interested in the global use of this application in terms of, can it help out in the housing codes arena? Can it help out in other quality of life types of issues? And I think the resounding answer from them was absolutely yes. And so that led us to approach the mayor and say, I think we've got something we want to try here. And I guess I can turn it over to Connor and let him speak a little bit more about it because we are really just beginning, I think literally last week, rolling this out and putting it on the street. So we're very excited about it.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Chris. Thank you both for your leadership in helping make Montgomery a smart city. I'm Connor Riffle. We're delighted, just absolutely delighted and honored to be partnering with the city of Montgomery on this pilot program. As Chris mentioned, this is a great opportunity to use technology, use Rubicon's technology to collect data about the sanitation operations in the city and help the city identify ways to save money, do the operations more efficiently, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions and make the city an even more sustainable place. So we are very excited about this pilot program and really delighted to be here. We have a video which we're going to show now, which gives you a little bit more of a deeper flavor of the technology. So maybe we can run that now.
How can government proactively respond to tomorrow's problems when they are sinking under the weight of today's? Escalating amounts of landfill waste, more traffic on the roads, siloed government departments with dwindling funds and ever-tightening budgets, and a lack of real-time communication between citizens and their public leaders. These are just some of the challenges cities across America are facing. The good news is a key solution to these problems is driving up and down your streets each day. You just didn't realize it. What you know as a garbage truck, we know as a roaming data center. We are using our app-based technology to become your city's eyes and ears, helping you to proactively respond to real-time issues. Once installed into your city's garbage trucks, Rubicon Smart City provides the ability to manage the efficiency of your vehicles, including navigation and route optimization. Automated service confirmations for trash and recycling collection make routes hassle-free. However, drivers are empowered with the ability to relay issues as they happen, from contaminated bins to vacant homes, and from graffiti hotspots to potholes. All that data will be available in the Smart City Portal dashboard and can be relayed in real time to the right departments to empower proactive decisions and best-in-class government service delivery, driving your city to make better decisions about infrastructure, education and training, tax spending, and so much more.
I think from what they've said and what you've seen is we're just in the beginning of this technology, and it can be limitless as we try to move ourselves in the direction of this smart city. We're already a smart city. I asked the question not too long ago, what does it take to be a gig city? What does it take to be a smart city? And the answer was it takes marketing. Well, we're trying to market what we in fact do in the smart city environment. And you see all of the streets around downtown Montgomery being torn up, and you see some orange cable and some yellow cable. That's fiber that's going in the ground that's going to connect to innovation districts and coding academies and so many other things in the inner core of downtown. It's been a great partnership, not only with Alabama Power and the military and the Chamber of Commerce, but we're seeing private sector people come in and want to put data centers right there next to our internet exchange. And so from that standpoint, this is just a next logical step to be able to collect that data from resources and assets we already have going around our neighborhoods. And so we spend not a dime extra to gather that data and to be able to use it. So kind of we appreciate your confidence in us that we can do a good job, and we look forward to getting the pilot done, and I know you look forward to us making additional purchases. So thank you so much, Connor. I appreciate that. Good, thank you. The segue that video gave with the garbage trucks going down the street is recycling. Montgomery, 5 years ago, Charlie, 6 years ago, moved in that direction. We did several studies, and we did some runs at different burning of plasma technology of burning, but we settled on the single garbage can with the garbage there going to a recycling facility and then going to a landfill. And the concept was fine. We didn't expect the fuel pricing, gas pricing to go south, and the cost of gas and plastics not to keep up with the marketplace. So in the company that we had engaged just could not make that work. Well, our plan at that time was we own the facility. In case of a default, we simply own the facility. Little did we appreciate and understand that someone had lent that other company some money without us knowing about it. And all of a sudden, there was a claim by this company that had a small investment to be number one in front of us. And that took us a year and a half or so to get to where we, in fact, through the bankruptcy court, were able to get control of that facility. And so as we got control of that facility to get back into the recycling business, we had a couple of missions. Number one, to the extent we could, we wanted to stay with the single can. Because when we were previously with the recycling of those orange bags, only about 25% of our households, in fact, participated with the orange bands. When you go to a single can, 100% participate. We wanted to get into the recycling with a company that knew what they were doing, that was competent, that had the financial wherewithal, and also that it would not cost us, the city of Montgomery, any additional money. It would be without additional cost. And we had two or three that were in a position to meet those requirements. One met the requirements, but it was a two-can system, which was a $3.5 million expenditure just to get that other can. And so we have settled on a company that was introduced to us by a local citizen that we have great confidence and great trust in. And we've had several meetings over the last 6 months, I guess it was, even maybe before we had control of the facility, to hammer out this agreement that we've in fact signed. There was another hurdle and that had to be overcome on some of the incentives from the Industrial Development Board because they're going to provide jobs, 50 jobs, and they're going to have about $6 or $7 million worth of equipment that's going to be put into the facility. And so before we asked the company to come up, it's Repower South is the company. Barry Crabb, Chris Conway, of course, was part of this. Matt McLeod was part of it. But our attorneys, as well as Barry Crabb, has led the effort to get us to the day we signed the agreement and this announcement today. And Barry, I know that you're pleased to have this opportunity to talk about this success, but you might talk a bit about the financial side, and then we'll invite Scott Montgomery, the representative for Repower, to come and talk about how happy they are to be in Montgomery, Alabama.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. We are excited to be back in the recycling business, and one of the most important things I heard from the mayor as the finance guy is the at no additional cost to the city. That was the challenge he put in front of Chris Conway, Matt McLeod, and myself to get the city back into recycling at no additional charge to the city. And a third one, he said, and we'd like to get a provision in the contract that if in the best of times, the city could get some kind of a revenue participation from the company. So those were the three principles we were looking at, and we talked to over 30, 40 different companies around the country, all over the world, really, we got interest in, and had selected Repower South. I've got just a few points I want to discuss before I introduce some of the principles that are here. One of the things this is going to do is extend the life of our landfill. The last landfill cell we put in cost about $2.8 million. For us to extend the length of time between the construction of those cells will save the city a lot of money, and that's really kind of where our payback comes from. The project, as the mayor mentioned, is expected to add over 50 jobs when the plant's fully operational. Revenue share component that will allow us to share in up to $200,000 a year, which is about 10% of the cost of the bonds used to build the facility. Other things it allows us to do, Maxwell Air Force Base is a group that we really like to accommodate. They get mandates from Washington for all sorts of things, and we do a lot of things for Maxwell. This is one great thing, allow them to meet the mandate of recycling, again, at no additional cost to the city. So happy to be dealing with Repower South, a group of well-financed guys currently developing a $50 million recovery and recycling facility near Charleston, South Carolina. As the mayor mentioned, they're investing over $7 million. They put up $1 million in escrow. The investment they're making is to our facility. The equipment will be titled to the city of Montgomery. All of that just speaks volumes to me for the confidence that they have in the success of this project. So maybe enough of the finance guy talking about recycling. Let me introduce you to some of the principals of the company. Justin Converse is the chairman and CEO of Repower South. He's got a coal brokerage and logistics business. He's a recognized leader in the energy business, has extensive experience working with electric utilities. He also has experience in the sand and ready mix industry. That could be a buyer of the fuel that they'll be generating. He's a distinguished alumnus from Wofford College in Spartanburg, South Carolina. He currently sits on their board of trustees. And also we have Scott Montgomery, who is a principal with Repower South. He's just a real entrepreneur. He's worked with J.P. Morgan in New York. He's been involved and co-founded a healthcare software company. He has also co-founded a green waste recycling, compost, and retail landscape business. We're just delighted to be working with him. And Scott, if you want to come up and tell us a little bit about what's going on out there and some of your plans, we'd appreciate it.
When you'll be in business.
Thank you very much. There's a lot of activity on Louisville Street right now, getting the facility back up and running. I just want to thank the mayor and Barry and Chris Conway and Mac McLeod for the opportunity. It's the city and the mayor's foresight that we're here today. There's not many communities around the country do full-scale recycling. There's some in California. We're going to do one in outside of Charleston, and then the city of Montgomery, which we're really excited about. So thank you very much. We're called the City of Montgomery Recycling and Recovery Center. The recovery is the fuel aspect that the previous facility owners were not able to tackle. Like the mayor said, we'll put $7 million of new equipment in the facility that's shown here. A big portion of that, about half of it, is the fuel component. We'll make something that looks like a bale. It'll eventually look like kind of wood pellets that we'll sell to the cement mills, and ultimately we'd like to sell it to utilities. Once we've gone through that process of proving out that for utilities, they want to test it first. But anyway, we're going to provide a lot of jobs. There'll be well-paying jobs. We will have no debt on the facility, which will be a big benefit for us. We're well capitalized, as the mayor said. We're excited to do the profit sharing, and we will absolutely have this thing up and running by the end of the year and get Montgomery back to recycling. Thank you very much.
Let me make sure that we've covered a couple of things. In the original scenario, only about 25% of the debris that went to the facility was recycled, and 75% came back to the landfill. That was, we were expecting something in the 60% range would come back, but more than 70 was coming back. And so you ask the question, what's different about this? It's that single can. So you might talk a bit more about, because what we're talking about is in excess of 50%, more like 60% of what we take out there from the city of Montgomery will not go back to our landfill because of the investment of this equipment. So talk a bit more about the baling and the fuel for the cement industry and then subsequent.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I think the facility before, we're making some modifications that should take the recyclables, the plastic and the cardboard and the steel and aluminum from 25% recovery up to 30 or 35%. And then what can't be recycled, there's a big fraction of paper and plastics that can't be recycled for whatever reason, and we'll take that and make a fuel out of it. So we should easily be over 60%, which will be, well more than half. We'll have to get, only half will have to go back to landfill, if not less. So
if we can have half life, double the life of the landfill, we can be saving 2.8 to 3 million our future cost over about every 5 years. And so that's at the end of the day where the huge payback is for us, aside from the fact that we're going to be able to help Maxwell and other governmental industries. We talked to the public schools this morning. They want to be in the recycling business. So again, this gives us a lot of flexibility that we did not have previously along the way. It's actually going to be up to them to make those contacts, because they're going to be marketing it. But from a standpoint, this was almost a no-brainer for us to get back into the recycling business. Now, I know you got to put some equipment in, but what's your expectation of when you have your first load?
We hope that by the end of the year. There's some engineering that still has to be done to get the equipment exactly where we want it, but it definitely by the end of the year, so hopefully November, December.
So this would be a nice Christmas present for the citizens of Montgomery. Great. I know that they probably have some questions they would like to ask you and do a one-on-one with you. And, this takes some confidence on your part in us as well. And when we can get someone that we know and we trust and we've known for many years to vouch for you, to speak for you, that speaks volumes about giving you a leg up with the opportunity. And the business plan that you presented to us and your history of being in this industry led us to make this decision. So thank you so much and congratulations. So thanks, Barry. I appreciate that. Each one of those companies represent us moving forward in the various areas. As I said, this is all about environmental friendliness. It's all about smart city. That's the buzzwords in today's environment. And to the extent that we can be known in the same breath as the Silicon Valley of Austin, Texas. I was so pleased the other day, and I can't even remember where it was, but Marcus probably told me, somewhere along the way, we were mentioned in the technology sector in the same sentence or the same paragraph as Austin, Texas, Huntsville, Alabama, and Montgomery, Alabama, all because of the activities that we have going on. So we're excited about that, and I hope that the citizens of Montgomery are excited for us to be moving in the directions that we've talked today, particularly the recycling. So hope y'all have a great day.